Chapter 6. Coordinates of the abyss. The white crystal chamber vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. A blinding flash filled Jack's vision, and in the next instant, he found himself back on the bridge of his ship. The alarms were silent. Every system was functioning perfectly, as if nothing had ever happened. But Jack knew the truth. What he had experienced was real. On the navigation console, 16 symbols were still glowing. 317499 to 1084677713. He had never entered them. He had never written them down. Yet there they were. Computer, identify these coordinates. A few seconds of silence followed. Then the artificial intelligence answered in an unusually calm voice. Coordinates not found in any known navigation database. Jack frowned. Run a deep scan. Deep scan complete. No results. These coordinates do not correspond to any known star system within the Milky Way. A chill ran down his spine. If they didn't exist in any database, then either the place had never been discovered by humanity, or someone had deliberately erased it from history. At that moment, the main display flickered. A new message appeared. Unknown signal detected. Source. The exact same coordinates. The signal was unlike anything Jack had ever encountered. It repeated every 37 seconds. Only a few sounds, strangely similar to a heartbeat. Thump. Silence. Thump. Silence. Thump. Jack increased the volume. The longer he listened, the stronger the feeling became. This wasn't a mechanical transmission. It sounded alive, as if something deep within the darkness of space had been waiting for him, and it knew he would come. Suddenly, the ship shuddered. Warning. Object detected. Distance. 9 million kilometers. Jack stared at the radar. Nothing. Only empty space. Repeat the scan. Scanning. A few seconds later, the answer froze him in place. The object exists only during the signal pulse. After each pulse, it disappears. Jack's heartbeat quickened. That was impossible. No known technology could make an object literally vanish from space itself. Then, a silhouette slowly appeared on the display. Enormous. Dozens of times larger than any ship humanity had ever built. Its shape was blurred, almost unreal. But one thing was certain. It was not a human vessel. And it was not an architect ship. It was something far older. Without warning, every system aboard Jack's ship shut down. Complete silence. Only one monitor remained illuminated. Slowly, a message formed across the screen. Heir, you found us. Too late. Silence. Not the ordinary silence of space. This silence felt alive. Jack stared at the glowing words on the monitor. Heir, you found us. Too late. The message lingered for only a few seconds. Then the screen went black. One by one, the ship's systems began to reboot. Power, navigation, life support, weapons. Everything was returning to normal. Everything. Except one thing. The heartbeat. It was still echoing through the ship. Slow. Heavy. Steady. Thump. 37 seconds. Thump. 37 seconds. It wasn't coming through the speakers anymore. Jack muted every audio channel. The heartbeat remained. He closed his eyes. Still there. It wasn't inside the ship. It wasn't inside the signal. It was inside his mind. Suddenly the artificial intelligence interrupted the silence. Captain. Its voice sounded distorted. Almost frightened. I am detecting a gravitational anomaly. Jack turned toward the holographic navigation table. The empty region of space ahead was changing. Stars began to disappear, one after another, as if swallowed by invisible darkness. The sensor struggled to lock onto the phenomenon. No black hole detected. No wormhole detected. No measurable mass. Jack stared in disbelief. Something impossible was happening. Space itself was folding, like a sheet of paper bending around an unseen hand. Then, a thin line of silver light appeared, perfectly straight, stretching across the darkness for thousands of kilometers. It wasn't a beam. It wasn't a crack. It looked like a door. The heartbeat grew louder. Thump. The silver line slowly widened. Darkness peeled away. Beyond it, there were no stars, no planets, no galaxies, only endless white light. The ship's eye suddenly spoke again. Its tone had completely changed. Cold, emotionless. A voice Jack had never heard before. Identity confirmed. Heir recognized. Permission granted. Jack froze. I never gave any authorization. No response. Instead, every display aboard the ship filled with unfamiliar symbols, ancient geometric patterns, mathematical sequences, languages that no human had ever recorded. Yet somehow, Jack understood them. Not with his eyes. Not with logic. He simply knew. A single phrase echoed inside his mind. The gate remembers your blood. His breathing became shallow. My blood. Before he could finish the sentence, another voice answered, soft, gentle, painfully familiar. Jack. He stopped breathing. No, it couldn't be. The voice came again. My son. It was his mother. Not the broken recording he had heard before. Not a damaged transmission. This voice was alive. Jack. Don't enter the gate. The heartbeat suddenly stopped. For the first time. Absolute silence. Then the unknown voice returned. Cold. Ancient. Endless. She lied. The silver gateway expanded even wider. Something enormous began to move within the white light. Not a ship. Not a creature. Something so vast that the human mind could barely comprehend its true form. The sensors failed instantly. Every instrument displayed the same result. Object size. Unknown mass. Unknown age. Unknown. Then one final message appeared across the bridge. Make your choice, Heir. Enter, or let humanity remain blind forever. Jack slowly reached toward the navigation controls. His hand stopped only centimeters away. He knew. The next decision would change not only his destiny, but the fate of every civilization that had ever looked up at the stars. Jack's hand hovered above the navigation controls. Only a few centimeters separated him from the decision that could alter the fate of humanity. The silver gateway pulsed with silent light. No sound, no movement, only an overwhelming sensation, as if the universe itself was waiting for his answer. Jack took a slow breath. I need the truth. He pressed the control. The ship moved forward. The moment its nose crossed the edge of the gateway, reality shattered. There was no explosion, no impact, no acceleration. Instead, time stopped. The stars froze. The heartbeat vanished. Even Jack could no longer hear his own breathing. Then, everything changed. The bridge dissolved into streams of white light. The walls became transparent. The ship itself seemed to melt into millions of luminous particles. For a brief moment, Jack wasn't inside the vessel anymore. He was floating between realities. Visions erupted around him. Not memories, not dreams. History. He saw impossible cities orbiting dead stars. Entire galaxies connected by glowing corridors stretching across the void. Worlds where no sun had ever risen. Yet life flourished beneath oceans of liquid crystal. Towering beings of living light built structures larger than solar systems. With a single gesture, they folded space itself. With another, they ignited newborn stars. Then the vision shifted. The magnificent civilizations were gone. The corridors collapsed. World after world fell into darkness. Stars were extinguished. Entire constellations disappeared from existence. Something was hunting them. Jack tried to focus. At first, he saw nothing. Only absence. A darkness so complete that it seemed to consume reality itself. Then two enormous eyes slowly opened within the void. They were larger than planets. Ancient. Patient. Watching. Jack instinctively stepped backward. The eyes didn't blink. They simply observed him. Then, a voice echoed through the endless white space. Not loud. Yet it resonated through every thought in his mind. You were witnessing the first war. Another vision appeared. The beings of light stood united. Opposite them, the darkness. No ships. No armies. No weapons. Only an endless tide of black emptiness. They called themselves the architects. The voice continued. Because your language has no word for what they truly were. Jack's heart pounded. So, they weren't the first. Silence. Then the answer came, no. They were the last. The words struck him harder than any explosion. Everything humanity believed, everything the archives had preserved, everything he had risked his life to uncover, had been incomplete. The architects had never created civilization. They had inherited its ruins. The vision changed once more. This time, Jack saw a single child standing alone in an endless field of stars. The child turned slowly. His face became visible. Jack's breath caught. It was him. Not as a man, as a little boy. The child smiled sadly, then whispered only 4 words. You have been here before. The universe trembled. The vision collapsed. Warning sirens exploded throughout the ship. Power surged back. Gravity returned. Jack fell hard onto the bridge floor. Every alarm was screaming. Critical warning. Unknown object approaching. He forced himself to look through the forward viewport. The silver gateway was closing, but something had crossed through it. At first, it appeared no larger than a distant star. Then it moved. Not fast, not slowly, simply closer. With every passing second, its size doubled. The sensors failed immediately. No mass, no energy signature, no identifiable structure. Only one impossible reading remained on the main display. Lifeform detected. Jack stared at the word. Lifeform. How could a living being exist in open space? The answer came before he could finish the thought. The stars around the approaching figure began to disappear. Not because something blocked them. Because space itself ceased to exist wherever the being passed. The eye spoke in a trembling voice. One final warning. Captain. It has seen us. Part for the hunter. Every alarm aboard the ship erupted at once. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. The eye's voice echoed through the cabin. Critical threat detected. Unknown lifeform closing rapidly. Jack forced himself to his feet. Outside the forward viewport, the silver gateway was collapsing. The white light faded. The familiar stars slowly returned. But something else remained. The being. At first glance, it seemed no larger than a shuttle. Then the distance recalculated. Jack's blood ran cold. The object was over 4,000 kilometers long. Its impossible scale had deceived his eyes. It had no engines, no visible hull, no lights. Its body resembled a living fragment of the universe itself, dark as the space between galaxies. Its surface shifted constantly, as though countless stars were being born and dying. Beneath a skin of liquid darkness, the eye spoke again. Velocity impossible. The display struggled to update. 120,000 kilometers, 90,000 kilometers, 60,000 kilometers. The creature wasn't accelerating. It simply ignored distance. Each moment it existed, it was closer. Jack grabbed the controls. Maximum thrust. The engines roared. The ship surged forward, pushing harder than ever before. Stars stretched into brilliant lines. Space bent around the hull. Within seconds, they entered faster than light travel. Normally, nothing could follow. Not through hyperspace. Not without a jump drive. Jack looked back. His breath stopped. The hunter was still there, floating beside the ship, as though hyperspace meant nothing to it. The eye's voice trembled. It is matching our trajectory. It should not be possible. Then every screen turned black. One symbol appeared. A circle. Inside it, a single human eye. The heartbeat returned. Thump. Thump. The symbol began to glow. Without warning, Jack's chest burned with unbearable pain. He collapsed against the console. A strange light spread beneath the skin of his right arm. Thin silver lines, like veins made of liquid metal. The pain grew stronger. Not destructive. Transformative. The eye gasped. Its synthetic voice filled with disbelief. A known genetic sequence activated. No, this cannot be human. The silver lines continued to spread. Across his hand, his shoulder, toward his neck. Then, every system aboard the ship responded. Not to the computer, To Jack, lights changed color. Ancient symbols appeared on every display. Hidden controls emerged from smooth metal surfaces that had always seemed solid. Entire sections of the bridge unfolded, as if awakening from a sleep lasting millions of years. The ship itself had recognized its true commander. Jack stared in disbelief. This ship, the eye completed the sentence. Was never built for humans. Outside, the hunter slowed. For the first time, it stopped moving. It watched. Its countless shifting patterns became still. Then, from the endless darkness of its body, one beam of pale white light reached toward Jack's ship. No weapons fired. No explosion followed. Only a single transmission. One sentence, spoken in a language older than stars. Yet Jack understood every word. The blood has awakened. The hunter turned, not away from the ship, toward the distant edge of the galaxy, as if it had received an order, or sensed the return of something far greater than itself. The heartbeat ceased. The silver lines beneath Jack's skin slowly faded. The bridge fell silent once more. Jack looked at his trembling hand. He knew one thing with absolute certainty. He was no longer the same man who had entered the gate. Somewhere, deep within him, something ancient had awakened. And whatever it was, it had just announced his existence to the universe. Part 5. The Last Architect. Silence settled over the bridge. The hunter was gone. Not hidden. Not cloaked. Gone. As if it had never existed. Only the stars remained, glittering in the endless darkness. Jack slowly lowered himself into the captain's chair. His right arm still glowed faintly beneath the skin. The silver veins pulsed with a rhythm that no longer matched his heartbeat. The eye broke the silence. "Captain, I have restored all systems. But there is one anomaly I cannot explain." Jack looked up. "What anomaly?" "The ship has unlocked a compartment that did not exist before." Jack frowned. "Show me." A holographic blueprint appeared. For the first time since he had taken command of the vessel, the schematic had changed. A new chamber had appeared beneath the bridge. No corridors led to it. No doors connected to it. According to every previous scan, it had never existed. Yet now it was clearly visible. A single label floated above it. Authorized by genetic signature. Jack's pulse quickened. The ship had recognized him. Not by rank. Not by identity. By blood. He stood. "Open the chamber." No response. "I cannot. The control systems are refusing my commands." Jack stepped toward the rear wall of the bridge. Without warning, the metal surface rippled like liquid. Ancient symbols ignited across its surface. The silver lines beneath Jack's skin flared brightly. The wall dissolved. A hidden passage opened. Cold white light spilled into the bridge. The air beyond felt different. Still. Almost sacred. Jack walked forward. Each step echoed softly. The corridor curved downward, its walls carved from flawless crystal. No machinery. No wires. No visible technology. Everything seemed to exist as though it had grown naturally. At the end of the passage stood a circular chamber, perfectly silent. In its center floated a crystal sphere nearly 3 meters wide. It pulsed gently, like a sleeping heart. The moment Jack entered, the sphere awakened. Light flowed through countless fractures inside the crystal. A human figure slowly emerged, tall, slender, wrapped in robes woven from pure light. Its face was calm, neither old nor young. Its eyes contained entire galaxies. The figure looked directly at Jack. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then the being bowed, not as a ruler, as an equal. "Welcome." The voice was warm, gentle, almost sorrowful. "Air." Jack swallowed. "Who are you?" The figure smiled faintly. "I am the last memory of those your people named. The architects." Jack's breath caught. "So you're alive?" The smile faded. "No. I died. 4,312,000 years ago." The chamber fell silent. Jack stared in disbelief. "Then what are you?" "A memory. A consciousness. A fragment preserved so that one day someone worthy would arrive." Jack stepped closer. "I have questions." "I know. So did we. The architect turned toward the crystal walls. Images blossomed across their surface. Cities larger than planets. Worlds linked by rivers of light. Civilizations unlike anything humanity had imagined. This dot was our civilization. Jack watched in silence. It was beautiful. The architect lowered his head. It was. Then what happened? For the first time, fear appeared in the architect's eyes. Not ordinary fear. The memory of absolute terror. We opened a path. We believed knowledge had no limits. We believed every door should be opened. His voice became quieter. We were wrong. The crystal chamber dimmed. The magnificent cities disappeared. Only darkness remained. The architect spoke a single sentence, one that chilled Jack to the core. Some doors are not meant to be opened. Before Jack could ask another question, every crystal in the chamber flashed crimson. The eye's voice echoed through the corridor. Emergency. Unknown energy surge detected. The architect looked upward. His calm expression vanished. For the first time, he looked afraid. They have found you. Jack's heart raced. Who? The architect slowly turned back toward him. His next words were barely above a whisper. Those who destroyed us. The chamber shook violently. Cracks spread across the crystal sphere. The projection flickered. Then, a deafening impact echoed through the ship. Something had just struck the hull. The impact shook the entire ship. Warning lights flooded every corridor. The bridge erupted in alarms. Hull integrity compromised. Unknown energy signature detected. Jack rushed back toward the command deck. The architect's projection followed him, flickering with every violent tremor. When the bridge doors opened, everyone froze. There was no enemy ship, no fleet, no asteroid. Only darkness. A perfect sphere of darkness. It floated a few thousand kilometers away. It reflected no light. It emitted no radiation. The stars behind it had vanished completely. The eye spoke in a trembling voice. I cannot identify the object. It has no measurable mass. It occupies space dot without existing. The architect closed his eyes. They found the gate. Jack stared at the impossible sphere. What is it? The architect answered without looking away. A seed. Jack frowned. A seed. The architect nodded. Not of life, dot of extinction. Silence filled the bridge. The sphere slowly began to expand. Not outward. Reality itself bent on it. Space fractured like cracked glass. From within the darkness, shapes emerged. Not ships. Not creatures. Shadows. Countless shadows. Each one larger than a moon. Each one moving without motion. Jack felt the same pressure he had experienced inside the gate. His thoughts became heavy. His heartbeat slowed. The silver veins beneath his skin blazed once again. The architect turned toward him. You can still stop this. How? There is only one way. The crystal projection raised a hand. A beam of light flowed from the sphere into Jack's chest. Pain exploded through every nerve. Memories. Thousands of them. Millions. Lives he had never lived. Worlds he had never seen. Voices speaking forgotten languages. Faces of civilizations erased before Earth was born. Then, one memory remained. A woman, holding a child. She smiled. Not at the child. At Jack. She whispered, "You were never chosen. You were created." The vision shattered. Jack collapsed to one knee. His breathing became ragged. What does that mean? The architect looked at him with infinite sadness. It means your mother did not give birth to the first heir. She gave birth to the last. Jack's world stopped. Everything he believed about himself, his family, his past, began to collapse. The architect continued. For millions of years we searched. We hid fragments of our knowledge. We waited for a mind capable of carrying what we could not. We failed. So we created one. Jack slowly raised his head. No. This isn't possible. It is. The projection began to dissolve. Its light faded. My time is ending. You must remember one thing. No matter what happens, do not trust memories. They can be written. They can be erased. And they can be created. The chamber fell silent. The last architect smiled for the first time. Not with hope, with acceptance. Goodbye, Jack. The projection shattered into billions of tiny particles of light. The crystal sphere became dark. Forever. At that exact moment, the black sphere outside the ship stopped expanding. Every shadow turned toward Jack's vessel. Simultaneously, the eye spoke only 3 words. Its voice almost inaudible. They know. Then, across every screen, across every display, across every system, the same message appeared. Air status. Confirmed galactic protocol. Initiated far beyond the Milky Way. In the darkness between galaxies, something opened its eyes. For the first time, in millions of years,